So during all of this time, I also was in a relationship. In all my relationships in the past, I had never been in love. And I know that's interesting for many people to hear because I am 43 and I have been married before. But I was married at a very young age, right out of college. And at the time, I probably didn't even really know what love was. And so I told myself that I was going to open up to love and that I was going to give the next relationship 100% a shot and try to fall in love. So it was kind of something that I made myself do. In that relationship, I noticed early on that there were some things to be concerned with. Um, Although the individual said that he wanted a future with me, he could not vocalize what that future looked like. And whenever he spoke of the future, I was never in it. He asked me to go to counseling so that I could learn more about him, but he didn't feel the need during counseling to ever learn a little bit more about me. It was just for me to learn how to deal and cope with him, but not vice versa. I started to notice that what he would say to me in private would be different when we were in public or around individuals. I noticed that he was the perfect guy around my family and my friends, but separate, it just wasn't there. During my ordeal with preparing for surgery, my doctor had told me that if I wanted to have children, that they would remove the fibroids and all the problems, but I would have to try to conceive within 3 months. Honestly, I never really saw myself having children, so that wasn't an option of mine. However, because I was in a relationship, I felt like I still should have had that conversation with him because he didn't have children, and of course, neither did I. So I tried to entertain the conversation with him, and he really wouldn't even have the conversation. So I just went ahead with what I personally wanted to do, which was to get my health in order. Then when I had the surgery scheduled and I knew what date it was, I kept asking if he was going to, kind of stay with me for the week because I needed someone to be at the home after surgery during my recovery. And he kept saying, I'll get back with you. I'll let you know. And honestly, to this day, I never got a concrete answer as to whether he was going to be there or not. And right before May 1st, when I was scheduled to have surgery, we had a disagreement, a small disagreement, and I didn't think it was going to blow up the way it did, but I said, you know what, let's just drop this. I don't need to stress, because that was one of the things the doctor said is don't stress, don't get your blood pressure worked up, don't do any of these things before surgery because, total hysterectomy is a major surgery. And so I said, hey, let's not even talk about it. Let's just forget it. We'll have this discussion later. And he refused. He said, no, we're going to deal with this. And he kept pressing. And 2 days before surgery, I said, you know what? I can't do this. So let's not talk. And I will find a ride to surgery so you do not have to take me to surgery. I just don't want to be stressed before having a major surgery. And honestly, that was the last time I talked to him until about the end of the month, because he never called to check on me. He never came by. He never did anything. And my family and friends kind of rallied behind me and said, if he shows up, he's not to see her. I didn't even know this. And the night after surgery, my sister had to work, so did my brother, so they weren't able to just stay with me. And Mrs. Annie Ray from church, got in her car and said, hey, I've got to come through that way, and I'm going to pick Tasha up and take her to the house. and they came by and got me, and I stayed with them during my recovery. And it's interesting that really that is how the relationship kind of fell apart. When I talked to him a little bit after that, he told me that the reason he didn't show up is because I didn't call him personally. He was on a text chain that my sister had who was updating about 10 individuals about what my health was, how surgery was going. And so he was updated, but it just wasn't physically from me. And because it was not physically from me, he felt like he did not or should not be there. And so that was the end of our relationship. At that time, I started, because this is also the time that the depression was real, I started talking to individuals prior to getting a therapist. And I discovered from multiple individuals who are all in behavioral health and mental health that the relationship that I was in was very much an emotional and mentally abusive relationship. The individual I was with, based on, of course, those individuals did not physically diagnose him, but they felt as though he was a narcissist. And I was told that for my mental health to end all communication. I never experienced a narcissist before, but I can tell you I know all about it now. The gaslighting is real. We went ring shopping where he told me he wanted to buy a 4-carat ring, and I'm like, do you know how much a 4-carat ring costs? But we went ring shopping, putting rings on my finger and what I liked, just for him to then say, you're trying to trap me in a marriage. You're trying to trick me into marrying you. And it was like that with so many different things that it was, you really start to question your own mental health and doubt your own reality that you know. And that also took a toll on my mental health. And so recovering without him gave me what I needed to, gave me the strength that I needed to walk away from that relationship, because it was not something that was anyway beneficial to me. And it definitely was not beneficial to my mental health. And so I've ended communication and moved on, and I can happily say that I am doing much better without that relationship.